Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Fuji Guys. My name's Jerry, and in this series of videos we're going to go through the top features of the X-T200. Welcome back to another in the series for the X-T200. I'm going to cover now just the different assist modes that are on the camera screen itself. So we're going to be talking about the portrait enhancer, we're going to be talking about exposure compensation, we're going to be talking also about depth control. So with that little arrow that we see on the screen, we press that and we can bring up our different icons. Again, once again, up at the top is our portrait enhancer, we have exposure compensation and depth control. So I'm just going to go back and I'm just going to press the portrait enhance mode. And by default, it's turned off. So you will get a perfectly sharp image every time. But sometimes we don't want the image to be perfectly sharp. Portraits is a perfect example. So the more we want to have a blurred image or a softer image, we would then just increase our portrait enhancer and decrease our portrait enhancer. And you'll see the results right on the screen, so when you have the desired effect, you can then just take your picture. If we now go back, we have the exposure compensation, and sometimes, you know, on a bright sunny day or on a snowy day where you have a lot of snow, sometimes all that white and brightness can really throw off the camera metering, and sometimes we need to just tone it down a little bit. So you can either tone it down or you can brighten it up, depending on the circumstances. And you can see the end result right on the screen. Now I'm going to go back, and then we have the depth control. Now the depth control actually does control your aperture, but sometimes we either aren't sure what aperture value we want, or we don't know or understand how the aperture will work and control that depth of field. This takes all the guesswork out of it. You want more blurred. So in auto mode, it may already give you the most blurred image depending on the camera setup or the situation that is at hand. But sometimes we want to add a little more depth control. So as we control the depth and we want more and more blurriness, we can do that. We can add more depth, we can remove depth that way as well, and then go all the way back to auto. Now, a lot of these settings would be controlled also in the camera itself. Mainly exposure compensation can be handled on all of the different modes. Depth control can also be handled or can be controlled on all the modes. However, the portrait enhancer may not be available in all the modes.